If you often say things you later regret, get misunderstood, or lose peace because you spoke at the wrong moment, this video will show you how silence can help you win situations without fighting. Many people speak to explain themselves, defend their ego, or prove they are right, but they don't realize every unnecessary word gives others power over their emotions. One careless sentence can ruin respect, damage relationships, or turn a small issue into a lifelong burden. If you don't learn when to stay quiet, you may keep losing battles you never needed to fight. But there is a deeper wisdom behind silence that only calm, self-aware people understand. And once you see it, you'll never react the same way again. Stay with me because in this video, I will share 7 powerful lessons that show how keeping your mouth shut can help you win almost every situation in life. The first key point is this: silence is not weakness, it is self-control. Most people misunderstand silence because they confuse it with fear. They think if you don't speak up, you are losing. If you don't react, you are being dominated. That belief is wrong, and it is costing people their respect, their peace, and their power. Real strength is not loud. Real strength is contained. It is the ability to feel everything inside you: anger, frustration, ego, pride, and still decide not to let those emotions drive your mouth. Anyone can shout. Anyone can react. Anyone can say the first thing that comes to their mind. That requires no discipline at all. But holding your tongue when your heart is racing, when your ego wants to prove a point, when your emotions demand expression, that is control. And self-control is the foundation of all success. When you stay silent in a heated moment, something powerful happens internally. You are telling yourself, I am bigger than this moment. Silence is not about suppressing your voice forever, it is about timing. A controlled person understands that not every moment deserves a response. Some moments deserve observation, some moments deserve patience, some moments deserve distance. When you react instantly, you hand control to the situation. When you pause, you take control back. Silence gives you space between stimulus and response, and in that space lies wisdom. That space is where better decisions are made. People who lack that space live in regret. People who master it live in command. Think about how many problems in life start with a sentence spoken too quickly. A relationship breaks because of one careless line. A career stalls because of one emotional response. A reputation gets damaged because of one unnecessary comment. Silence could have saved all of that. Silence is protective. It shields you from your own impulsive nature. It acts like a filter, stopping temporary emotions from becoming permanent consequences. When you learn to be silent under pressure, you stop creating fires that later consume you. You begin to move through life with fewer regrets and more clarity. Silence also communicates strength to others. Even when you say nothing at all, people observe how you behave under pressure. When you remain calm while others are losing control, you stand out. You appear grounded. You appear confident. You appear unshaken. And confidence that doesn't need to announce itself is the most convincing kind. Silence tells people that you are not desperate for validation. You don't need to win every exchange. You don't need to prove yourself constantly. That quiet confidence unsettles insecure people because they don't know how to read you. And when people cannot read you, they cannot easily manipulate you. There is also a deep emotional maturity hidden inside silence. It means you are not ruled by your moods. It means your identity is not tied to being right all the time. Many people speak because they are afraid of being misunderstood, disrespected, or ignored. But the strongest individuals know that respect is not demanded through words. It is earned through consistency and composure. Silence shows that you trust your character more than your explanations. You trust that time will reveal the truth better than arguments ever could. Silence trains your mind to slow down. In a fast, reactive world, slowing down is a rare advantage. When you don't immediately speak, your thoughts organize themselves. You begin to notice details you would have missed. You hear tone instead of just words. You sense intention instead of just information. This awareness sharpens your judgment. Over time, silence makes you wiser because you are no longer rushing to fill every gap with noise. You become comfortable with pauses, and comfort with silence is a sign of inner stability. Most importantly, silence puts you back in control of yourself, and if you cannot control yourself, you cannot control outcomes. Self-control is power that cannot be taken away. Money can be lost, status can change, opinions can shift, but control over your reactions stays with you if you build it. Silence is one of the strongest tools to build that control. It is not passive, it is active restraint. It is choosing long-term strength over short-term relief. And people who master this don't just avoid problems, they rise above them quietly, steadily, and unmistakably. The second key point is this: most arguments are lost the moment you open your mouth. People believe arguments are won by sharp logic, clever words, or louder voices. But in reality, arguments are emotional battles disguised as conversations. The moment emotions enter the room, truth becomes secondary. When you speak while the other person is emotionally charged, your words don't land as facts, they land as threats. Even calm explanations sound like attacks. Even honesty sounds like disrespect. This is why so many arguments escalate so quickly. Not because the point was wrong, but because it was delivered at the wrong time. Silence in those moments is not surrender, it is refusing to step into a trap that cannot be won. Arguments feed on reaction. They grow stronger when they sense engagement. When you reply instantly, you give the argument oxygen. You give it energy. You give it permission to continue. Silence does the opposite. It starves the conflict. It interrupts the cycle. When you don't respond the way the other person expects, the emotional momentum breaks. They may raise their voice. They may repeat themselves. They may push harder. But without your reaction, the argument has nowhere to go. It collapses under its own weight. Silence doesn't inflame, it cools. And in many cases, cooling the situation is the real victory. There is also a hidden power shift that happens when you stay quiet during an argument. The person who is talking is often the one trying to convince, justify, or defend. The person who is silent is observing. Observation creates leverage. While the other person is speaking emotionally, they reveal their priorities, insecurities, and intentions. They show what truly matters to them. They show where they are weak. When you argue back, you miss all of this because you are too busy preparing your next sentence. Silence turns the moment into information instead of confrontation. And information is far more valuable than winning a heated exchange. Many people argue because they want to be understood, not because they want a solution. Silence forces a pause that often brings self-awareness. When someone doesn't get immediate resistance, they sometimes hear their own words more clearly. They begin to notice their tone. They feel the intensity of their emotions without your voice masking it. In that pause, people often soften. They rethink. They correct themselves. Silence gives them space to do what no argument can: reflect. This is why staying quiet often leads to better outcomes than trying to explain yourself perfectly. Another reason arguments are lost when you speak is because words spoken in emotional moments get remembered, not forgiven. Even if the relationship survives, the sentence survives with it. People may forget what started the argument, but they remember how they felt when you said that one thing. Silence prevents permanent damage from temporary emotions. It protects relationships from scars that don't heal easily. You may feel unheard in the moment, but you preserve trust in the long term. And trust is far more valuable than being right for 5 minutes. Silence also gives you time, and time changes power. What feels urgent in an argument rarely is. Most conflicts feel intense because they are happening now. Silence pushes the conversation into the future, where emotions are lower and logic can return. When you choose to respond later, or not at all, you control the timing, and timing decides outcomes. A delayed response delivered calmly often carries more weight than a perfect response delivered emotionally. Silence allows wisdom to arrive before words do. Lastly, choosing silence in arguments trains you to detach your self-worth from winning. Many people argue because they feel attacked personally, even when the issue is small. Silence reminds you that not every challenge to your opinion is a challenge to your value. You don't need to defend yourself in every moment. You don't need to correct everyone. You don't need to prove intelligence or strength through debate. When you stop fighting every battle, you start choosing the ones that matter. And that choice alone puts you ahead of most people. Calmer, clearer, and in control. The third key point is this: people reveal more when you say less. Most individuals don't realize how much they expose simply by being given space. Silence creates that space. When you don't rush to fill the air with words, others feel an unconscious pressure to do it themselves. Humans are uncomfortable with emptiness, especially in conversation. So they talk, they explain, they justify, they overshare. And in doing so, they show you who they really are. Silence turns conversation into a mirror, and most people cannot help but look into it and speak. When someone is talking freely, without interruption, their guard slowly drops. At first, they share what they want you to hear. Then they begin to share what they didn't plan to say. The tone shifts. The details change. Contradictions appear. None of this happens when you are competing for the microphone. When you talk too much, you control the conversation, but you also limit what you learn. Silence reverses the roles. You become the listener, the observer, the one collecting insight, and insight is always more powerful than expression. Silence also exposes intentions. Words chosen under pressure are filtered. Words chosen in comfort are honest. When people feel heard without being challenged, they relax. And relaxed people tell the truth, sometimes without realizing it. They reveal what motivates them, what they fear, and what they want. You start to notice patterns, what they emphasize, what they avoid, what they repeat. These patterns tell you far more than direct questions ever could. Silence doesn't interrogate, it invites. And invitations are harder to resist. In professional settings, silence is a strategic advantage. When you allow others to speak first, you gain clarity before committing yourself. You understand the room before you enter the game. While others are busy presenting opinions, you are reading the dynamics. Who is confident? Who is uncertain? Who is trying too hard? Who is holding back? Silence sharpens your awareness, and when you finally speak, your words land with precision because they are informed, not reactive. People often assume the quiet person knows more, and many times they are right. Silence also reveals emotional maturity in others. When someone cannot handle your quiet, it shows their discomfort with themselves. Some people fill silence with nervous talk. Others become defensive. Others grow irritated. These reactions tell you how they deal with uncertainty and control. Silence acts like a stress test for character. It shows who needs validation, who needs dominance, and who is secure enough to sit in stillness. This information helps you decide how much trust to place in someone, how close to let them come, and how carefully to choose your words with them. There is a deeper layer to this as well. When you speak less, people project more. They fill the gaps with assumptions about you. Some will see confidence, some will see mystery, some will see authority. Rarely will they see weakness unless they already carry it within themselves. This projection works in your favor because it shifts attention away from your flaws and onto their perceptions. Silence becomes a canvas and people paint their own thoughts onto it. This gives you leverage without saying a single word. Over time, practicing silence refines your judgment. You stop reacting to surface level impressions and start understanding people at their core. You learn when words are genuine and when they are performative. You notice when someone speaks to connect and when they speak to control. Silence slows the interaction just enough for truth to rise. And once you see that truth, you cannot unsee it. You move through conversations with clarity, not confusion, guided by what people reveal rather than what they claim. The fourth key point is this: not every thought deserves a voice. Just because something appears in your mind does not mean it needs to leave your mouth. Thoughts are raw, they are unfinished. They are influenced by mood, memory, fear, ego, and impulse. Many thoughts are reactions, not truths. When people speak every thought they have, they confuse honesty with lack of discipline. Real wisdom is not about expression, it is about selection. It is knowing which thoughts are useful and which ones are temporary noise. The ability to pause and choose is what separates a composed mind from a chaotic one. Most thoughts are born from emotion, and emotions are unreliable messengers. Anger exaggerates, excitement overpromises, fear distorts. When you speak from these states, you give temporary feelings permanent consequences. Words once spoken cannot be recalled. They travel, they linger. They shape how people see you long after the emotion that created them has disappeared. Silence acts as a gatekeeper. It stops emotional thoughts from becoming public statements. It gives your mind time to cool down and re-evaluate. Many thoughts lose their power when you don't immediately act on them, and silence is what allows that power to fade. There is also a difference between having a thought and standing behind it. When you speak too quickly, you often end up defending ideas you don't even fully believe in. You say something in the moment, then feel trapped by it later. Silence protects you from that trap. It allows you to test your thoughts privately before releasing them into the world. Strong individuals don't rush to express, they wait until they are certain. This certainty gives their words weight. When they speak, it is intentional, not accidental. Not every opinion needs to be shared, and not every disagreement needs correction. Many people speak because they feel uncomfortable letting something pass. They fear silence will make them look weak or uninterested. In reality, constant commentary reveals insecurity, not confidence. Silence shows restraint. It shows you don't need to prove intelligence by reacting to everything. You understand that peace is sometimes more valuable than being right. Choosing not to speak is often the most mature response in a room full of noise. Silence also protects relationships. Many conflicts don't start because of deep issues, they start because of careless words, a sarcastic remark, a blunt truth delivered without timing, a joke spoken without awareness. These moments feel small when spoken but grow large in impact. Filtering your thoughts before speaking reduces unnecessary damage. It doesn't make you less honest, it makes you more responsible. You still speak your truth, but at the right time, in the right way, with the right intention. Internally, learning not to voice every thought strengthens your mental discipline. You stop being a servant to your mind and become its leader. You observe thoughts instead of obeying them. This creates emotional stability. You no longer feel the need to react instantly. You feel grounded, measured, and in control. Over time, this discipline carries into all areas of life. decision making, relationships, work, and conflict. A controlled tongue reflects a controlled mind. Silence teaches you patience with yourself. It reminds you that thoughts come and go, but character remains. You don't need to express everything to be authentic. Authenticity is not about volume, it is about alignment. When your words align with your values rather than your impulses, people trust you more. They listen more closely. And you respect yourself more, knowing that you chose restraint over regret and wisdom over momentary relief. The fifth key point is this: your future doesn't need public announcements. Many people sabotage their progress not through failure, but through excessive sharing. They speak about their plans too early, their goals too loudly, and their next moves too often. What they don't realize is that words leak energy. Every time you talk about what you're going to do, you release motivation without producing results. Silence preserves momentum. It allows your intentions to mature privately instead of being exposed prematurely to opinions, doubts, and unnecessary attention. When you announce your plans, you invite interference. Some people will discourage you not because your idea is bad, but because your growth threatens their comfort. Others will offer advice that sounds helpful but plants confusion. Some will compare your journey to theirs and project their limitations onto you. Even praise can be dangerous. Compliments can create a false sense of achievement, tricking your mind into feeling rewarded before the work is done. Silence protects you from all of this. It keeps your vision clean and your focus sharp. There is also a psychological trap in talking too much about your goals. The brain releases a small dose of satisfaction when you share intentions and receive acknowledgement. That satisfaction can reduce your drive to actually execute. You feel like progress has been made, even when nothing has changed. Silence denies you that shortcut. It forces you to earn fulfillment through action, not words. People who work quietly often outperform those who speak loudly because their motivation stays intact until the goal is real. Silence also gives you flexibility. When plans are public, you feel pressure to follow through exactly as announced, even when circumstances change. This can trap you into paths that no longer serve you. When plans are private, you can adjust without explanation. You can pivot, pause, or change direction based on new information. Silence gives you freedom. It allows growth without performance. You evolve without having to justify every step to an audience that doesn't understand the full picture. There is power in mystery. When people don't know your next move, they cannot prepare for it. They cannot interfere. They cannot compete. They cannot undermine. Silence creates strategic distance. While others are busy broadcasting intentions, you are building quietly. When results finally appear, they feel sudden and undeniable. That surprise carries impact. People respect outcomes more when they are not preceded by endless talk. Silence also keeps your identity separate from your ambitions. When you talk constantly about what you're trying to become, you risk tying your self-worth to unfinished goals. This can create anxiety, impatience, and desperation. Quiet effort keeps you grounded in the present. You focus on today's work instead of tomorrow's image. This stability strengthens consistency, and consistency is what turns effort into success. Keeping your future quiet doesn't mean isolation. It means discernment. You choose carefully who earns access to your vision. You share with mentors, not crowds. You seek guidance, not validation. Silence teaches you that progress doesn't need witnesses. It needs discipline. And when the time comes, your results will speak with more authority than any announcement ever could. The sixth key point is this: silence makes people take you seriously. In a world where everyone is explaining, defending, posting, and reacting, quiet confidence stands out immediately. People who talk too much dilute their presence. The more you try to convince, the more you appear unsure, the more you explain, the more you signal that approval matters to you. Silence sends the opposite message. It tells the room that you are comfortable with who you are and where you stand. You don't need constant confirmation. That calm certainty is rare, and rarity commands attention. When you speak less, your words gain weight. Think about it. If someone talks all the time, their words blend into background noise. But when someone who is usually quiet speaks, people lean in, they listen. Silence creates contrast, and contrast creates authority. You are no longer just another voice competing for attention. You become a presence. People begin to associate your words with intention, not impulse. Over time, this builds a reputation. When you speak, it matters. Silence also removes the need for justification. Many people over-explain because they are afraid of being misunderstood or judged. But over-explaining often creates the opposite effect. It opens doors for doubt, questions, and challenges that didn't exist before. Silence closes those doors. When you don't rush to defend your actions or opinions, people assume there is nothing to defend. Confidence doesn't argue its case, it assumes it. This assumption changes how others treat you. They become more measured, more respectful, more careful with their words around you. In professional environments, silence is often mistaken for passivity, but seasoned leaders understand its power. Leaders who speak only when necessary are perceived as thoughtful and strategic. They don't fill meetings with noise. They observe first. They allow others to reveal ideas, mistakes, and motivations. When they finally contribute, their input feels decisive. This is why quiet leaders often influence outcomes more than loud ones. Their silence builds anticipation, and anticipation builds respect. Silence also helps you avoid diminishing yourself. Many people unknowingly talk themselves down, sharing doubts, insecurities, or unnecessary details that weaken how others perceive them. You don't need to reveal everything about yourself to be authentic. Mystery preserves strength. When people don't know your limits, they are less likely to test them. Silence keeps your boundaries intact without needing to announce them. It allows others to discover your depth over time rather than consuming it all at once. There is also an emotional intelligence in silence that people subconsciously respect. It shows restraint. It shows patience. It shows that you can sit with discomfort without reacting. Most people cannot do that. They need to fill silence because silence forces self-awareness. When you are comfortable in silence, it signals inner stability. Others feel it. They may not articulate it, but they sense that you are grounded. Grounded people inspire trust, and trust is the foundation of influence. Over time, silence reshapes how you are treated. People interrupt you less. They listen more carefully. They think twice before challenging you casually. Not because you demanded respect, but because your behavior earned it. Silence trains others to value your presence without you asking for it. You don't need to dominate conversations to be influential. Sometimes the most powerful move is to say less, stand firm, and let your calm presence speak louder than words ever could. The seventh key point is this: emotional moments require quiet decisions. Most damage in life is not caused by bad intentions, but by good intentions expressed at the wrong emotional temperature. When emotions are high, judgment is low. In those moments, the mind is not searching for truth, it is searching for relief. Speaking gives that relief, but at a cost. Silence delays relief, but it protects outcomes. Learning to stay quiet when emotions surge is not suppression. It is strategy. It is choosing clarity over chaos. Anger is the most dangerous emotion for speech. When angry, the mind narrows, it exaggerates faults, ignores context, and turns temporary problems into personal attacks. Words spoken in anger feel justified in the moment, but they rarely align with long-term values. Silence creates a pause long enough for anger to lose its sharp edge. That pause is powerful. It prevents a single sentence from undoing years of trust. People who master this pause don't avoid conflict. They handle it when they are capable of fairness instead of reaction. Hurt operates differently, but is just as risky. When you are hurt, you speak from a place of defense. You try to protect your self-worth by explaining, accusing, or withdrawing verbally. These responses often push people further away, even when your goal is connection. Silence during hurt is not emotional withdrawal. It is emotional regulation. It gives you time to separate the pain from the person. When you eventually speak, you communicate needs instead of wounds. That difference changes everything. Excitement also requires silence, even though it feels positive. Excitement makes people promise too much, commit too quickly, and overlook consequences. Many people say yes in moments of enthusiasm and regret it later. Silence introduces balance. It allows you to check excitement with reality. A quiet pause can reveal whether an opportunity aligns with your priorities or just your emotions. This restraint saves time, energy, and integrity. Fear often pushes people to speak when they should wait. Fear of losing someone, fear of missing out, fear of being misunderstood. In fear, words come from desperation. They sound rushed, uncertain, and needy. Silence strengthens you in fearful moments. It grounds you. It reminds you that not every fear needs immediate action. Many fears dissolve when they are not fed by impulsive responses. Silence lets reason return before decisions are made. Quiet decisions in emotional moments also build self-trust. Each time you choose not to react, you prove to yourself that you can handle discomfort. This builds confidence that doesn't depend on external control. You learn that you don't need to fix everything immediately. You can sit with uncertainty and still be okay. This inner stability reflects outwardly. Others sense that you are not easily shaken, and that steadiness changes how conflicts unfold around you. Over time, practicing silence in emotional moments reshapes your life. Fewer regrets, fewer apologies, fewer situations you wish you could undo. Decisions made calmly tend to age well. Silence doesn't remove emotion, it puts emotion in its proper place. It allows feelings to inform decisions without dominating them. And that balance is what separates people who react their way through life from those who move through it with intention, control, and quiet strength. In the end, silence is not about hiding, avoiding, or shrinking yourself. It is about choosing mastery over impulse. Every moment you hold your tongue when ego demands a response, you take your power back. Every time you pause instead of reacting, you rise above the situation instead of being trapped inside it. Silence is how you stop leaking energy into places that don't deserve it and start directing that energy toward a life that does. You don't need to win every conversation to win in life. You need clarity, you need control, you need timing. Silence gives you all three. It turns chaos into information, emotion into insight, and conflict into advantage. When you stop speaking just to be heard, you start being heard because you matter. Remember, these words are easy, restraint is rare. Anyone can react, complain, explain, or defend. Very few can stay calm, quiet, and intentional when pressure rises. Be one of the few. Let your actions speak first. Let your results speak louder. And when you finally choose to speak, let your words carry the weight of wisdom, not the noise of emotion. Because the person who controls their mouth controls their mind. And the person who controls their mind controls their life.